There is rain and there is sleet on a 45-degree night in the Windy City. Better than 20,000 making their way into the United Center. And here in Chicago, they are excited about the revitalized Bulls, sparked by All-Star Derrick Rose and future All-Star Joakim Noah. While the Knicks are hoping Amar'e Stoudemire provides a lift to a franchise that has not made the playoffs in 6 years. The NBA on TNT is presented by the United States Marine Corps. It's the New York Knicks facing the Chicago Bulls in Game 1 of our Thursday night doubleheader. Hi, everybody. I'm Marv Albert, along with Steve Kerr, the one-time Chicago Bull, among many addresses along the way. We'll be joined momentarily by Craig Sager, working the sideline. A very positive outlook here in Chicago for the Bulls, and they come off a dazzling performance against Portland the other night, shooting 61% from the field.
Yeah, high expectations here in Chicago. A really well-built roster. You mentioned Rose and Noah. Carlos Boozer comes back soon, so this is a team that could eventually be among the elite in the Eastern Conference.
All right, set for the opening tip, the officiating crew: Dan Crawford, Derek Collins, Violet Palmer. And the Bulls control. The Bulls up front with Luol Deng, who put up a career-high 40 the other night. Second-year player Tajgibson and Joakim Noah at the guards. Keith Bogans and Derrick Rose, who is averaging just under 28 points per game, which is second in the league. Defensive 3-second violation is called on the Knicks. So Rose to the line as we look at the Knicks with Amar'e Stoudemire averaging 21 a game. Danilogallinari, a major disappointment over the first 3 games, shooting 20% from the field. Raymond Felton is the one-time Charlotte Bobcat, and he is the point guard as the head coach of the Knicks. Mike D'Antoni, his team is 1 up, 2 down. They won in Toronto. Opening night, lost in Boston, lost at home to Portland. And their scheduled game with Orlando for the Garden the other night was postponed because of debris that fell into the arena as Gibson opens up the scoring for Chicago. That occurring during overnight maintenance work, but the Garden will be able to reopen for tomorrow night's game against the Wizards. We'll have more on that in a moment. Gallinari. And he has been benched the last couple of games, just 2 of 9 the other night, and overall now for the season 5 for 25 shooting.
Yeah, and you see New York right away tried to get him a good look coming off the screen. He hesitated, and that's what players do, particularly shooters who are not feeling a lot of confidence. They hesitate, and that'll usually kill you.
Stoudemire, rebounded by Gibson. The Bulls at 2-1, wins at home against Detroit and Portland, lost their opener to the Thunder in Oklahoma City. Noah rejected by Mozgov. Timofey Mozgov out of Russia, starting at center, and Stoudemire is able to drill it.
And Mike D'Antoni would like to see a lot more of that transition basketball. That's what he's known for. So far this year, Knicks really have not gotten out onto the fast break, so good for D'Antoni to see Felton and Stoudemire hook up early.
There's Gibson. He's given that open shot. Todd Gibson, in his second season out of University of Southern Cal, the first-round pick last year, and was a pleasant surprise.
Excellent defender, very long and athletic, and combined with Noah, they may be the 2 best pick-and-roll defenders among bigs as teammates in the entire league.
Felton fires one up. Raymond Felton signed as a free agent following 5 years with the Bobcats. The last 2 with one-time Knicks head coach Larry Brown. Felton is defending on Rose. Deng sets the pick. Deng had that 40-point outburst the other night against Portland. He's double-teamed, gets it to Noah. Noah with a nice feed. It counts in the foul. Taj Gibson with the bucket, and he'll go to the line.
Well, already we're seeing some terrific passing from Joakim Noah. We've talked a lot about his skill. Look at this pass here. He catches in the lane, but he's got the presence of mind to pivot, find the open man, and Taj Gibson with the semi-slam over the top.
Foul committed by Mozgov, who is foul prone. He had 4 the other night in 8 minutes of play. Gibson completes the 3-point play. So Gibson with a fast start. He has 7 of the Bulls, 8 points.
And remember, he will eventually come off the bench when Carlos Boozer comes back. So Gibson could be a terrific reserve player for Tom Thibodeau.
Stoudemire, nice move. On the pull-up against Gibson.
So good at that mid-range jump shot.
That counts as a foul. Luau Deng, as I mentioned, with 40 the other night against Portland, a career high. He hit 14 of 19 from the field, including 3 threes. He had been struggling with the shot first couple of games.
But it was interesting talking to Coach Thibodeau before the game, Arby. He said that Deng, despite the fact that he was shooting poorly, had played extremely well, was cutting, was moving the ball, was making good decisions. And you love it as a player when your coach singles you out for doing things well when you're not shooting well. Gives you a little extra burst of confidence.
Tom Thibodeau also very happy with the fact that Deng was so active at the defensive end. Stoudemire hit from behind. You can see Noah try to come from the blind side. He and Gibson all over Stoudemire. Gibson on the foul, and Amar'e to the line. Now the Knicks cleared their cap space effectively. Donnie Walsh, the general manager, team president, did the job, but were not able to attract a combination of LeBron James and Chris Bosh. The major signing was Amar'e Stoudemire. You had the idea they felt they had to do something. So Stoudemire signed to a 5-year max contract worth just under $100 million. Now, as the one-time general manager of the Phoenix Suns, you had Amar'e several years at Phoenix. Were you surprised about the money?
I wasn't surprised because, as you said, Mark, New York really needed to do something to excite their fan base. The worry for New York, which was our worry in Phoenix, is the health issue. He's had several knee surgeries, including a microfracture. As Deng gets to the hoop, can't get it to go. So Stoudemire, I think he's going to be fine, but will it last? Yeah, he'll travel there on the break. Can his health hold up over the full length of the 5-year contract? If not, New York is sitting on a major albatross of a deal in the final 2 years.
Albatross.
You like that word?
Amar'e has been turnover prone. In fact, a critical turnover down the stretch. The other night in the loss to Portland, lost the ball out of bounds on an excellent defensive play by Marcus Camby. And that helped turn things as Deng on the drive is called for the charge. Offensive foul on Luau Deng.
Oh, nice play by Amar'e Stoudemire. That was an area that he really improved on a year ago in Phoenix. I don't think he had taken more than a half-dozen charges in his career until last year. Then all of a sudden, he really started to figure things out at the defensive end, made a much better effort, and instead of fouling people in that circumstance, he'd slide over, get his feet set, and take the contact.
And the other night, Portland closed the nice block by Gibson on Stoudemire. Portland closed against the Knicks with a 17-3 run. Here's a runner by Rose, and his back tap played by Mozgov of the Knicks. Felton tried to lose Rose on a screen. Mozgov, nice fake on Noah, and he drew the foul.
Mozgov's pretty skilled. You know, he's a guy who can play a little bit. Mike D'Antoni was raving about him early on. Now, right now what you're seeing is Taj Gibson sending Amar'e Stoudemire left. That's clearly in the scouting report. Stoudemire wants to go right. He's at his best when he can get to his right hand and finish with that lay-in or that tomahawk dunk. But when you send him left, he's going to try to get back into you and draw that foul. But Gibson and Noah, so long, very difficult to shoot over the top.
Foul committed by Noah. Timothy Mozgov signed as a free agent after playing professionally in Russia for 6 years. Grew up in St. Petersburg, Russia. The Bulls with the ball up by 2. We're just underway here in Chicago. Gibson trying to post up. Shot clock to 3. Deng is hit. He's stripped. Landry Fields, a rookie from Stanford, who has made his way to the starting lineup, a second-round pick, 39th selection overall. He's called on that reach-in foul, so Deng will shoot a couple. Luau Deng last season averaged 17.7 rebounds A career high in the rebounding department. Now Fields will depart, and Wilson Chandler, who has been effective coming off the bench, checks in as we take a look at the upcoming national TV schedule. ESPN tomorrow. It'll be these Bulls playing the Celtics in Boston, Clippers at Denver. NBA TV on Sunday, 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time, Boston at Oklahoma City. Fans, you can go to NBA.com/fan-night. Vote for the matchup you want to watch Tuesday, November 9th, and the voting ends at midnight Eastern Time. Stoudemire with the jumper.
You know, one of the keys for Stoudemire coming to New York, he's familiar with the system. He played for D'Antoni for 5 years in Phoenix, so nothing's new to him. I think that's huge. You rarely see that in the NBA as Noah misses the hook. You know, usually when a guy goes to a new team, it's a huge adjustment. I don't think so much for Stoudemire.
Here's Gallinari trying to get back to it and hits the three.
And that's the key guy for the Knicks this season. There's no question about it. He's the wild card. If he plays well like he did as a rookie and gives them that outside shot, now they have the spacing that they need to execute D'Antoni's offense.
And again, a defensive three is called. It is on Stoudemire. Mike D'Antoni in his 3rd season as head coach of the Knicks, following 5 years with the Suns, 4 straight 50-plus win seasons with that up-tempo style. And there was the feeling that in Phoenix he was not a great fan of Amar'e Stoudemire.
Yeah, you know, there were times for sure where he was frustrated. I think but Amar'e has matured considerably the last couple of years. And Mike talked about this with us before the game. He said when he visited with Amar'e during the free agent period, see the turnover there by Chicago, and he was very impressed with Stoudemire's maturity, his leadership. And we saw that in Phoenix last year. He was a much improved leader in that locker room.
Gallinari played by Bogans. Here's Stoudemire. A series of moves rebounded by Noah. Noah leads the NBA in rebounding, averaging 15 a game. He had 19 the other night. Here's Rose. How about Derrick Rose, averaging just under 28 points per game. Felton with a quick shot, rebounded by Gibson.
Well, this is when he's at his best in transition. Turnover there by Tajgibson. But Chicago has to get out in transition.
Oh, Gallinari with the stuff. So Gallinari showing some signs after having a rocky time the first 3 games of the season.
Really good start here for New York. We've only seen Derrick Rose get free for 1 hoop, and we'll see another turnover here, it looks like. So New York playing good defense here.
Gallinari ahead of the field, and he is hit hard. Foul committed by Bogans.
Timeout, Chicago.
Now Rose, one of the hottest players in the NBA so far in this young season, finally getting out in transition, using that little crossover dribble to create some space and knock down that jumper. But for New York, finally, Danilo Gallinari getting his game going.
The game is so comfortable to me now where when I'm in the game, I know what to do defensively, offensively. I'm still learning, but like the game is kind of easy to me where in pick and roll, I know what players are, where they're going to be and where they need to be. And I guess the more years you play, the more comfortable you get.
First 3 games, Derrick Rose averaging just under 28 points, second in scoring behind Monte Ellis of the Warriors at 30 a game. And Derrick Rose and the Bulls are still awaiting the return of Carlos Boozer, who is recovering from that broken right hand. The cast has been removed. Carlos has been an injury hit player in recent years, but think of what Boozer will add when he returns, one of the superb pick and roll and pick and pop players in the league.
And it'll change the game for Rose. We heard Charles Barkley talking in the pregame show about how Rose was taking too many shots. 23 attempts is an awful lot for a point guard. That number will go down for sure when Boozer comes back.
Shot clock to 6. Here is Rose. He forced it. Saved by Noah. Gibson rejected and a foul. 14th foul on the Knicks. It is on Chandler, his first.
Knicks are doing a good job of challenging shots at the rim. They came into the night #1 in the league in shot blocks. They were near the bottom of the NBA a year ago. The addition of Stoudemire has helped, and also Ronny Turiaf, who we'll see in a little bit. So a little better defense at the rim than what we saw last year from New York.
And Chandler has chipped in with 9 block shots. Turiev had 4 the other night. A fast start here for Tajgibson, looking for his 9th point. Game is tied at 18, just under 5.5 remaining in this first quarter. Gallinari has scored the last 7 points for the Knicks. Noah defending on Stoudemire. Gallinari open for 3, and the confidence has returned.
Beautifully executed play by the Knicks there. A little misdirection, pick and roll at the top. Help defense comes from Chicago, and that frees up Gallinari for the 3.
Gallinari had been playing through a sprained right wrist. There was also the thought by some with the trade rumors involving Carmelo Anthony, which involved talk of Gallinari, that he may have been affected by that. We've seen that occur with young players in the past.
Well, it happened right here in Chicago a few years ago. Remember when the Kobe Bryant rumors to Chicago started, and you had guys like Deng and Ben Gordon coming off great rookie seasons. All of a sudden, they were struggling. So for young players especially, it can be disconcerting when you hear your name mentioned in trade rumors, but part of the business, you got to get used to it.
Were you affected by trade rumors?
I was traded like 6 times, so it didn't matter that much after a while.
There's a positive way of looking at that, as Dang is way off, and it's Gibson rejected from behind by Gallinari. Gibson thought he was fouled. Think of all the teams that wanted you.
Yeah, except when I was just like a salary cap addition.
He stepped out of bounds. Stoudemire made contact with the baseline. Oh, Dang. And it's Gibson. Well, the Bulls caught the Knicks looking the other way.
And I think that's one of the keys to tonight's game is New York's transition defense, because Chicago struggles to score a little bit in the half court as Felton gets the floater to go. Chicago, the first few games, has really feasted on the perimeter attacking of plays like that with Bogans in transition. And Mike D'Antoni furious right now because there's been a couple of cross matches where his guys lost their men in transition.
So the Bulls again take advantage. Here's Chandler from way downtown, rebounded by Noah.
Now you're starting to see the D'Antoni philosophy come into play here as Bogans misses on the 3, but the entire system for D'Antoni is based on floor spacing and making 3-point shots. They came into tonight shooting 29% from 3. You know it's only a matter of time, and they're getting it going tonight.
This is Tony Douglas, who just checked in, knocks down a 3. Tony Douglas, second-year player from Florida State. Started 10 games last season. Can shoot the 3. He's been a valuable guy off the bench. The Knicks are up. Oh! Derrick Rose with the emphatic stuff.
Unbelievable. Off 2 feet. Puts it behind his head. About the only point guard in the league who can make that play.
A two-handed stuff by Rose, who claims that he actually cannot palm the basketball. Stoudemire, rebounded by Gibson. Do you believe that's accurate? He can't palm the ball. Beautiful pass. Rose to Noah. And the Knicks call for time, and Mike D'Antoni is very upset.
Well, the Knicks had played great defense until the last 3 or 4 possessions, and they lose the Bulls twice in transition, and then they let Derrick Rose get to the rim in one of the great dunks you will see all year.
Just under 2.5 left. First quarter, the game tied at 26.
Set for one of the electrifying scenarios in the world of sports. Scottie Pippen in the face of Patrick Ewing. Starts the baseline. You gotta love it. Smith stops. Smith stopped again. Right down. Through the foul. Wow. There's a poster play, folks. The Knicks defeated the Bulls to take the series
The Bulls and the Knicks. Tonight we renew what at one time was the best rivalry in the NBA and the most popular marquee matchup primetime on TNT. For a 10-year period between 1988 and 1998, we televised 28 games between the Knicks and the Bulls. 13 in the regular season, 15 in the playoffs. But this is the first one we have televised in 13 seasons since January 9th, 1998. You remember that. Don't you, Marv? Remember the Bulls won by 1 point in New York? Michael Jordan and Steve Kerr combined to score 48 on the Bulls' 90 points.
Oh, see, that's not nice.
He didn't say how many I had.
Right.
We'll just go with 4.
4. Yes. I was told by our producer, Scott Cockerell. He was right on the information. But I know you have vivid memories of some fierce battles between these two clubs.
Phenomenal matchups. And you remember, it was really when Pat Riley kind of changed the way the game was played as Wilson Chandler gets called for the carry. But remember the Jordan rules from Detroit with Chuck Daly. I think Riley with New York took it a step further and got so physical that eventually the league changed the rules. It was just getting too out of hand.
We saw Hall of Famer Scottie Pippen as Craig was talking about one of the premier rivalries in the NBA several years back. There's Dang getting inside, call for steps. Some substitutions. The Knicks sending on Bill Walker, 3-year man out of Kansas State, former member of the Boston Celtics. Ronny Turiaf has checked in, and one of the surprises of training camp for Chicago by way of Turkey, 7-footer Amar'e. A minute 20 left here in this first quarter. Nice lead pass, and Turiaf able to score.
Felton with a beautiful pass on that pick and roll. I think that's going to be a key for him this year. Hasn't been a great pick and roll player before in his career, but he's going to be asked to run an awful lot of that in this Knicks system.
Turiaf defending on Noah. Then a unusual looking shot by Joakim Noah.
The tornado, as assistant coach Ron Adams called it, a side spin, but it is somewhat effective given how it looks. It's amazing that it ever goes in.
Here's Felton on a quick release, hits the 3.
Well, he's been terrific here early on, really distributing well. 4 assists. He's got 7 points, running the club well.
Noah's pass nearly picked off, deflected out by Walker.
Let's take a look at this jump shot as Noah lines it up. He kind of spins it. His hand, the right hand is on the right side of the ball, left hand on the left side of the ball. And you see it's sort of a semi-sideways spin. Amazing that goes in.
Asik called for steps. Amar'e, second-round draft pick back in 2008 by the Blazers and traded to Chicago. Played in his native Turkey past couple of years, although he was set back by knee and shoulder injuries, but has played well for the Bulls in getting the time.
A very active big man, but like all European players, he's going to have to adjust to the speed of the NBA game. You saw that time he really kind of pivoted and spun because he was worried about getting his shot blocked.
Nice pass from Johnson. Oh, and Asik able to finish. James Johnson, second-year player from Wake Forest, who just checked in, started that play. Bulls do have a foul to give. Final seconds of the first quarter. Knicks have a 1-point lead here in Chicago. Chandler with a long 3-pointer. Wilson Chandler from downtown. 2 seconds left in the quarter. Here's Johnson, gets it off. Entertaining start here at the United Center. And the Knicks have a 34-30 lead on the Bulls. Hot shooting by the Knicks, 12 for 21, 57%, led by Gallinari with 10 points. States Marine Corps. Moments ago, Craig Sager talked with Knick head coach Mike D'Antoni.
Well, Coach, a lot of focus on Danilo Gallinari this year. He made only 2 of 11 threes after being the second most proficient shooter last year. What's different tonight?
Well, he's eventually going to come out of it. The guy's a good shooter. He just has to calm down and keep shooting. It's what we talked about. He did it. I thought he had a good first quarter.
Obviously, a lot of focus on Derrick Rose not turning the ball over. You obviously are winning the turnover battle, but are you disappointed a little bit in how he's been able to penetrate?
Well, that's what he does. He's one of the best in the league at it. We just got to get back. We screwed up in transition a few times. Didn't get back quick enough. I think there's some speed surprises. Hopefully, we'll do a better job going forward.
All right, thanks, Lad. Thank you.
All right, second quarter underway. Mike D'Antoni has made some changes. Chandler able to keep it alive, and he draws the foul. Anthony Randolph making his Knick debut. Quiet from Golden State in the deal involving David Lee, and Randolph has been bothered by a sprained left ankle. So this is his first appearance. And Brian Scalabrine has checked in for the Bulls. Brian signed as a free agent following 5 years with the Celtics, 4 years with the Nets. Played on 4 teams that have advanced to the NBA Finals. So assistant coach Tom Thibodeau is what he said.
Something
you know,
like
he
that.
changed the pronunciation on us.
He did. Well, he said he
would always
doesn't
say-
care. He said either
Right.
Thibodeau or Thibodeau.
Thibodeau, yes.
But, you know, what do you say? His father or his friends used to call him Tibbs.
Right.
So now people call him Thibodeau, but he said the correct pronunciation is Thibodeau.
It's
So-
of the French accent.
No, but in French, they don't pronounce the
That's
TH.
true. He was
Yeah.
giving.
So all he did was he confused us.
He did thoroughly, which is actually not difficult to do.
No, it's not.
Randolph not able to control. Oh, the save. Not a good save, though, as the Knicks are able to control Chandler with another opportunity, and he scores.
Good play by Chandler. He's been great off the bench for New York this year. 21 points and 10 rebounds. Leading scorer and rebounder off the bench in the entire league. Obviously, it's early, but he's a very talented player, a guy who can put up big numbers for New York.
This is C.J. Watson, who just came on. He's now working the point. Douglas for 3. Hit one in the first quarter. Johnson cutting around Walker, takes all the way. And back come the Knicks. Wild end-to-end play right here. And a tripping call on Watson.
And I'm sure Tom Thibodeau is not real thrilled with that shot from James Johnson, who has played well here in the early going. Second-year man from Wake Forest, but a bad shot like that inevitably leads to something bad at the other end. And Bulls were actually lucky just to get away with a foul. Those plays usually turn into layups.
Kyle Korver has come on for Luol Deng, and that is a hacking foul. The call on James Johnson will send Bill Walker to the line. With Kyle Korver coming on, it reminds me that Kyle was signed as a free agent after spending time with Utah last year. This is according to the NBA, although I know several of us are disputing it. Set an NBA record hitting just under 54% of his three-pointers, which passed you by as the all-time percentage leader. But at first it was thought it wasn't an official record, which you did hold because Korver played in only 52 games, but apparently did have enough attempts.
Well,
so you were erased.
I filed a protest with the league that was overruled, and so the record's gone. That's really all I had left.
Is there an appeal process?
Yes, I am appealing. I've hired my legal counsel.
Foul committed by Randolph. For some reason, Craig Sager actually has more on this subject.
This is a story.
Hey, Marv, I talked to Cal. He said he went 3 for 7 and dropped 2 percentage points. His brothers called him on the phone and said, listen, don't shoot. We need that record. The last game of the season was against Phoenix, who did not shoot a 3. With tongue-in-cheek, he told me, tell Steve that was because Phoenix played such great defense.
But that's terrible. That's like in Major League Baseball, a guy comes into the final day of a season hitting .301 and asks to sit down.
Hey, Joe DiMaggio, when he hit .401 that year, I believe they played a doubleheader the last day of the season. Ted Williams, excuse me. Yes, Ted Williams. And the Red Sox manager asked him if he wanted the day off. He said no. He went out, got a couple hits.
406.
So what I'm saying is Kyle Korver You're no Ted Williams.
Wow.
Just kidding.
So you're hurting.
By the way, we won that game by about 20. We pounded them. So
Here is Corver. Oh, it's put down by James Johnson.
this is an interesting lineup for the Bulls. There's a lot of expectations. We've talked about it here in the early going for Chicago, but look on the floor. 4 brand new players for Chicago, and the only one who's been there, as you see the lay-in from Bill Walker. The only guy who was here last year was James Johnson, who was a rookie and rarely played. So this is a team that still has a lot of growth ahead of them, and they still have to get to know each other.
Foul on Douglas, Knicks' second team foul. Bulls have 3. Look at the off-season moves, and this is a team that made a number of roster changes. And once Carlos Boozer comes back, this is one of the stronger teams in the league. Watson coming up way short, and it's deflected out. Last touch by the Knicks.
And I think the common theme with the additions is they're all really good team players. You see Carlos Boozer there, who has, by all accounts, been trying to do his best in terms of leadership while he's on the bench. He's traveling with the team. He's with the guys every day. That shot there from Watson. And this is a team that has good character people. They've got a great core, a very bright future.
Douglas not able to hit, and a foul. Douglas with the running one-hander. Asik called on the foul, number 4, 4th team foul on the Bulls. I mentioned earlier that the Knicks will play at the Garden tomorrow night. They'll play the Wizards at the Garden. This after their previous home game against Orlando was called off because of debris falling from the ceiling of the arena, and they were talking about the possibility of playing either at the Prudential Center, the Rock in Newark, which is the home of the Nets now for a couple of years before they move into Brooklyn, and the home of the New Jersey Devils of the NHL. The other possibility, the Izod Center in the Meadowlands, former home of the Nets. But apparently it will not happen, and the hope is that there will not be any further problems at the Garden. It was the first cancellation of a Knicks game at Madison Square Garden in 14 years. The Garden is undergoing refurbishment or a transformation over the next 2 or 3 summers as major construction goes on, but the building will be back in action tomorrow night.
Huge project. I think $700+ million project to renovate the building. Can you imagine the Knicks playing in the old Nets arena in the Meadowlands? I just don't see it. Man, that wouldn't have worked.
You know, many years ago, when the circus was a particularly big attraction in New York, as Stoudemire is fouled, it would actually take precedence, we're talking 50s and 60s, over the Knicks. And the Knicks would be farmed out to an arena that was called the 69th Regiment Armory. It was actually a military installation, and there were some huge playoff games that were played there in the 50s and the 60s because of other events taking precedence at the Garden.
Like the circus.
Yes. Gallinari back on the floor, had 10 points in the first quarter. Gallinari played by Stoudemire. Gallinari looking to shoot. Gallinari with the lead pass. Turiaf not able to hit. Gallinari does.
He's got his game back. You can see it. He's itching to catch the ball now, whereas the first 3 games, he was really struggling with his confidence. Didn't look like he wanted the ball. Now he's on his toes. He's ready. He's looking to make plays out there.
Knicks playing well. A 10-2 run in the second quarter. And they are up by 12 with 8.5 left. First half. Second quarter here at the United Center. Knicks up by 12. Now, the last time the Knicks played here on TNT, November 29th, 2007, a game in Boston, certainly a night to forget for New York fans as the Celtics clobber the Knicks 104-59, the 45-point blowout, the 3rd worst loss in team history. Nate Robinson's 37-foot three-pointer that you saw a moment ago as time expired saved the Knicks from their lowest scoring output in the shot clock era. The Knicks shot 30% from the field. To this point, though, it has been a different story for the Knicks. That was 3 years ago.
And there's a reason, as Scalabrine knocks down the three, there's a reason we have New York on TNT this year. There is hope with the signing of Stoudemire, the play of Gallinari, the hope among Knicks fans. And I think it's important here in the early going that New York gets off to a good start. Gallinari with the jumper, he's on fire. But New York, they've got to maintain that excitement that they have in the city from the fans. It's a tenuous excitement. But you look at their schedule coming up, they've got some winnable games. I think it's imperative for them to get off to a pretty good start.
14 for Gallinari. That's already a season high. And the Bulls in the midst of a drought. They're down 46-34. And a foul is called. Tony Douglas took the shot from three-point land, and he'll go to the line to shoot three. The upcoming schedule for the Knicks tomorrow night at home against the Wizards, Sunday against the 76ers, and we'd like to wish the best to Doug Collins. The Sixers did win last night, but Doug again had to leave the bench because of the vertigo. But it is a chance for Mike D'Antoni and the Knicks to pick up some W's, although many of those teams are in the same situation, or pretty close to where the Knicks are.
No, they could lose to any of those teams. They could beat any of them, but at least they're not playing Orlando, Miami, the Lakers, Oklahoma City here in the early going. So, if they get off to a 6-3 start, get some momentum, get some confidence for their young players, and keep that excitement level with the fans in New York, I think they've got a chance to build something.
They're up by 15 points. Rose with a nice lead pass. Noah with the bucket. He thought he was fouled. Knicks quickly on the transition, and they take advantage of the Bulls. Douglas beating the Bulls down court and had the clear path. They double up on Noah. Reach-in foul called on Chandler.
Now, this is not the type of defense that we're used to seeing from this Chicago team. After the hoop from Noah, you see he complains. Nobody picks up the ball. Easy lay-in for New York. Chicago came into this game allowing its opponents to shoot 40% over the first 3 games of the year. Knicks at almost 57 right now, including 5 for 8 from three-point land, 12 of 15 free throws. So New York just having its way.
Both teams are over the foul limit. Here's Amar'e Stoudemire checking back in. Replaces Wilson Chandler, who just picked up a 3rd foul. Over the first 3 games, the Bulls shooting just 64% at the foul line, which ranks last in the league. Only 19 of 32 against Portland the other night, although they beat the Blazers. How about that previous game against Detroit? The Bulls were down by as many as 21. They turn it around at both ends of the 4th quarter. They outscore the Pistons 34-9 in the 4th and come up with a 10-point victory.
That's one of those character-building wins, kind of a culture-identifying win, as Stoudemire easily gets around Scalabrine but can't finish.
Here's Rose. Not able to put a move on Walker. Korver for 3. Kyle Korver with the quick release, able to knock it down from the corner, and the Bulls are now within 10.
Huge addition for this Bulls team because they are not a good three-point shooting club. Stoudemire with the pass to Turioff, who can't finish.
Turioff on a follow. Turioff keeping it alive. And a foul. Foul is called on Chicago. Good job by Rudy Turioff. That's what he does, able to keep that ball alive. Korver called for the foul, and Gallinari will go to the line. A programming reminder, the most anticipated television event since television's last most anticipated television event, Conan, premieres Monday at 11:10 Central, only on TBS.
How about the play of the Knicks bench with Stoudemire out? He sat about 6-7 minutes. New York was plus 13 without him, so he gave Amar'e a chance to rest, got their young players involved, got Gallinari going. A terrific start here for New York.
Gallinari 82% at the line last season. He bounced back from an injury-plagued rookie year. Averaged 15 points. And a major disappointment in the first 3 games this season, but a breakout first half for Danilo Gallinari. Here's Rose, got the step. Oh, he backs it home. Derrick Rose.
Well, when Chicago has struggled this season, it's been up to Rose to take over. He did that in Oklahoma City when the Bulls almost came back from a big deficit. Douglas with the runner, and he did it against Detroit in that big comeback as well.
And here's Rose going all the way. This time came up short. Turiaf with the rebound. Tony Douglas has played well. Douglas putting a move on Culver. Gallinari for 3. Gallinari 6 for 7, 19 points, just killing the Bulls in this first half. 3 of 3 from beyond that 3-point line.
Talk about a breakout game. Remember last year, Mike D'Antoni called him the best shooter he had ever seen, which is really shocking when you consider he coached Steve Nash all those years. But Gallinari feeling it tonight. 6 for 7 from the floor, 3 for 3 from 3. Knicks up big.
And a man who is on fire, Danilo Gallinari. 6 for 7 from the field, 19 points. And Knicks head coach Mike D'Antoni and Danilo's dad, Vittorio, actually played together from Milan in the Italian League in the late 80s. There's Vittorio. And they helped their team win the 1987 European Champions Cup.
A couple of other interesting faces on that team. Bob McAdoo on the left, Darren Day on the right, who was the father of Austin Day with Detroit, one-time NBA player and UCLA Bruin.
Noah blows the stuff. Culver, nice pass. Dang is rejected and fouled. But aggressive defense being shown here by the Knicks. Dang shaken up. We'll head to the line. Turiaf called on the foul. And as you know, as we take another look at this play, Dang taking a shot, landing on his back. Mike D'Antoni in Italy, a major star as a player and as a head coach. And I believe you visited Italy with Mike.
I was there. There was an NBA big man's camp in Treviso, Italy, and I was there with him and traveled a little bit, went and watched a game with him, and he was a rock star. I mean, he's all the fans knew him and came up to him and asked for his autograph, and he made his mark over there before coming over here to the NBA.
Played ABA and NBA briefly.
You can see the European influence. There's an offensive foul called on Stoudemire. You can see the European influence with D'Antoni because the big guys in Italy generally spread the court and shoot, and that opens up driving lanes. And of course, that's what he did in Phoenix. He downsized everybody, played Stoudemire at the 5, Marion at the 4, and he had shooters all over the place, and the floor was so spread out. And that's not what the NBA was used to.
Dang misses out of 3. Felton able to chase it down. Landry Fields has returned. This is Fields met by Corver. So Felton now works the point. Stoudemire puts a move on Scalabrine, scores and a foul.
Now it's interesting. Tom Thibodeau has elected to have Scalabrine guard Stoudemire, and there's no way he can match up with him physically, but the point is to try to bring Noah over from the weak side as the shot blocker rather than the other way around. That time Noah couldn't quite get there fast enough. You see from up above that quick first step, Noah gets caught too close to the foul line, and Stoudemire, he's going to get to the rim consistently, and Scalabrine will be replaced now by Tajgibson. Much better defensive matchup for Chicago.
10 points for Stoudemire. He is 2 of 2 at the line. There's Tajgibson, who got out to a fast start. 11 points in all, kept alive by Turiaf. Continues to do the job off the board. Gallinari with a rare miss. Back comes Dang. 4.5 remaining in this first half. Dang with a sloppy pass, a casual flip to the right, leading to this. Fields with the layup.
Very athletic young player out of Stanford. He had to turn on the jets to catch that ball, then make an athletic play to lay it in.
Corver coming off the screen. And got the hop.
Little miscommunication defensively on that screen for Kyle Korver.
Well, Gallinari is rejected and fouled. He was able to get the step on Korver.
Knicks have really taken the fight to Chicago tonight, right from the opening tap. I mean, 62 points here with 4 minutes left in the half. These are like the old Phoenix days for D'Antoni. And Gallinari, the big star tonight with 19. But right from the outset, you could see that New York was the aggressor. They were attacking the glass. They were attacking in transition. And they have absolutely dominated this game.
Keith Bogans checks back in.
Keith Bogans is back, coming on for Kyle Korver. 5 points for Korver. So Gallinari has already surpassed his total for his first 3 games of the season, when he managed to hit only 5 out of 24 from the field.
And you can see they're a completely different team when he's making shots, because now the defense is spread out. Derrick Rose trying to get to the rim. But the defense for Chicago doesn't quite know where to go right now.
Beautiful spin by Gibson. .16 Nick lead. Stoudemire. For Amar'e, it must look like the Phoenix Suns that he's playing with. Gibson lost the handle, but he drew the foul. It was on Turiaf.
And of course, that eventually will be Carlos Boozer. So in a game like this, to have a low post threat where you can slow the action down, get to the foul line, that's a big advantage. Bulls will be much better once Boozer returns.
Gibson only a 65% free throw shooter last season. Well, you can visit NBAstore.com. You can do it today to shop for new Revolution 30 jerseys and authentic on-court apparel for the 2010-2011 season. NBAstore.com. One store, every team. Marv Albert, Steve Kerr, and Craig Sager. We are at the United Center in Chicago. 21,000 plus on hand. The Bulls led the NBA last season in attendance, including 23 sellouts. A Bulls team that finished at the 500 mark at 41-41, made the playoffs, then lost to Cleveland in 5 in the opening round. Shot clock is down to 4. Once again, Rony Turiaf, who has just controlled the glass, able to convert on a putback. 4 points, 7 rebounds for Turiaf.
He was probably the key guy in that Golden State deal for David Lee. Even though Anthony Randolph was the headliner for them, I think you're going to see a 3-second call here on Noah. But in terms of, this season, Turiaf's high energy, his interior defense, his unselfish play, I think will have a major impact for the New York Knicks.
Get some stops, get into the open floor, keep pushing the ball. Listen, man, get it inside 10. Work our way back. Right now, let's just get organized. Get organized. Keep it simple.
Get organized is right, because Chicago with 10 turnovers offensively, that's really put its defense on its heels. 66 points for New York. You look at the numbers, 52% field goal shooting. How about 20 free throw attempts for the Knicks? So the Bulls, a team that prides itself on its defense, just getting shredded tonight.
And a blocking foul as Felton looked to go baseline. Well, we heard from Tom Thibodeau in his first season as a head coach, took over for Vinny Del Negro, now the head coach of the Clippers. And Tom, a one-time assistant under Jeff Van Gundy with the New York Knicks. Right here, we'll check in with Ernie Johnson back in our Atlanta studio.
All right, thank you, Marv. Coming up shortly, the T-Mobile halftime report as Kenny and Charles join me to break down the first half in Chicago. Later tonight, we'll take you to Portland for the Thunder and the Blazers, called by Kevin Harlan and Reggie Miller. Now back to Chicago. Marv and Steve.
All right, Ernie. Coming up on 2 minutes to play in this first time traveling violation. And The crowd getting a little anxious as the Bulls continue to struggle. For the Knicks, a very impressive first half.
Yeah, they've been terrific, and for Chicago, you know, they just haven't been able to get out in transition. New York only 4 turnovers, so it's been a clinic here offensively. And when the Bulls can't get out in transition, they struggle to score in the half court.
Shot clock down to 6. Stoudemire. Yes. The Knicks have outscored the Bulls in this second quarter 36-19.
And that right there is what makes Stoudemire so difficult to cover, because you know he wants to get to the rim. You have to honor that. If he's going to pull up and make a 22-footer, not much you can do.
12 points for Stoudemire, 21 for Gallinari. Dang looking to post. Shot clock down at 3. Another Bulls turnover. And you can hear the boos from this crowd. The Knicks have put up 70 points in this first half with time remaining. And that's a traveling violation. A Chicago Bulls team that lost its opener at Oklahoma City and then came up with wins against Detroit, a come-from-behind victory, and a win over Portland. Played very well against the Blazers, their highest field goal percentage in 2.5 years. They shot 61%. Offensive foul as Dang collects his second.
Crowd just getting more restless by the second. 13 turnovers now for Chicago. They're going to have to gather themselves, try to finish this quarter strongly, and then come out and defend and start making some stops in the third. 3
straight turnovers committed by the Bulls, and this very uncharacteristic of a Tom Thibodeau team. That's a travel the other way. It's on Stoudemire. Tom Thibodeau, regarded around the NBA as one of the best defensive coaches, and we saw that in Boston. We saw that with the Houston Rockets. We saw that with the Knicks. That's a 3-point attempt by Rose.
And he's not really ready to do that. 3 for 14 from 3 on the season coming into tonight. That's too many threes for him to take at this point in his career.
Stoudemire forced the issue and is called for the offensive foul.
I believe that's number 2 on Stoudemire. And we'll see, will Mike D'Antoni try to take him out here so he doesn't pick up his 3rd? No, he won't be able to get him out. So we'll see if Gibson can draw a foul possibly from Stoudemire.
Dang for 3, yes. Luol Deng coming off the career-high 40-point game the other night against the Blazers. Now 2 of 7 from the field, 9 points. Final seconds, first half. Down to 3, 2, Stoudemire. A sparkling first half for the Knicks here in Chicago. An 18-point lead. It's the Knicks 70, the Bulls 52. And the story in the first half, Danilo Gallinari, who had been struggling. 19 minutes of play, 6 of 8 from the field, 3 of 3 from downtown, 6 of 6 at the line. Did it all. 21 points, and he is with Craig Sager.
Well, Danilo, we've documented your struggles in the first 3 games. What the heck is so different tonight?
I don't have to think too much, especially on the offensive end, and just trying to play my game and try to be aggressive every time.
So you don't have to think too much. Were you thinking about possible trade rumors, about how your sprained wrist was bothering you before?
My wrist was bothering me, and I still feel some discomfort, but I was not worried about the trade because I was just listening to coach and my agent, and nobody told me nothing about the trade, so I was happy to be in New York.
All right, thanks a lot. And Danilo very much at ease tonight. 6 for 8 from the field, 21 points, and his Knicks lead at intermission. We'll be back with the T-Mobile Halftime Report. EJ, Kenny, and Charles in our arena in Atlanta.
That spread the floor. That got New York going.
Knicks shoot 52% from the field, 23 of 44, 6 of 9 from three-point land. Bulls at 46%. And you see points off turnovers. The Knicks with 16 points. A lot of turnovers for Chicago, 13 in all. And you mentioned the bench points. The Hyman Gallinari with 21, Stoudemire with 12, and Douglas off the bench to 12 points. Tajgibson got off to the quick start for Chicago. He's the high man with 14. Derrick Rose just 3 of 8, 8 points, has 9 assists, and Luol Deng off that 40-point outburst the other night, just 2 for 7. Nick Ball as this third quarter gets underway. Raymond Felton. Here is danilogallinari. Good box out by Joakim Noah.
An aggressive defensive possession there for Chicago. You know they want to come out and establish that early.
Deng played on the switch by Mozgov. Here is Deng with the runner. Deng keeps it alive. They have the new clock. Pass over the head of Deng. Was it tipped? The officials checking with each other. It'll be Bulls ball.
Now, Deng has struggled here tonight. Marv has not shot the ball well. 2 for 8 coming off that 40-point evening against Portland. But New York has done a nice job of keeping a body on him on the weak side. His game is really to move without the ball, come off screens. He's not an ISO guy.
Here's Rose. Trying to adjust that shot as he saw the 7'1" Timofey Mozgov and Amar'e Stoudemire come over. That's 3 on Stoudemire, who picked up the foul.
Derrick Rose, just one of the most exciting players. When he goes to the rim and he turns the Jets on, he's got that explosive leaping ability. We saw that incredible first half dunk. How about last year? Remember this one? I remember it very well. I didn't like this at all. In Phoenix, this pretty much sealed the game. I thought that was one of the highlight dunks of the year, and then he comes right back tonight and almost equals it.
Gibson with the follow. Fields got a piece of it. Gibson rejected by Mozgov. The Knicks continue to contest. They lead the NBA in block shots. Stoudemire is rejected. Stoudemire on the recovery. Knicks able to reset. Stoudemire. And again, the officials check with each other. This time, last touch by the Bulls.
Once again, Stoudemire forced left by Noah, as Gibson did in the first half, and that's the reason he's 5 for 15 tonight. Chicago's really put him in some uncomfortable situations.
The Knicks at 1-2 on the season. The Bulls coming at 2-1. Their last game, they shot 61% against the Blazers. Rose knocked it aside. Stoudemire recovers. Felton, nice stroke. Raymond Felton from in front of the Chicago bench knocks down a 3. Now they say it's a 2. No, apparently it is a 3. So it's a 20-point lead. Here's Rose for 3. Gets it right back.
Now remember the World Championships this summer with Rose, when the United States team won the gold. The European teams were basically backing off him at 18 feet, daring him to shoot. So there's no question that's the weak spot of his game. If he gets that going, forget it.
Nice passing, and Stoudemire is fouled. Knicks whipping it around. Rose picks up his second.
Take a look at Ray Felton's 3. Yeah, his foot looked like it was just behind the line there.
Steve, at halftime, Charles Barkley gave us a shout out, and he claimed that we did not mention that Dr. Oz was sitting next to Scottie Pippen. Well,
yes.
The reason we did not mention it, Craig Sager was doing the report, and he was talking over, did not see the video, but we didn't see Dr. Oz the second time that we showed Scottie Pippen. And I would have pointed that out. Dr. Oz is my personal physician.
So Charles blamed you
and you
and me.
Yeah.
And now you're blaming Craig.
No. I said no. I'm just blaming Charles. But
Sounded like you were blaming Craig, but maybe that's just me.
Well, Actually, maybe I will. Bogans rims out, rebounded by Dang. Kept alive by Noah, but he stepped out of bounds.
Well, the effort is there for Chicago so far in the first couple of minutes. The execution is not. They're not making shots, but they're getting after it defensively. They're going after offensive rebounds. They're trying to grind, as Tom Thibodeau asked of them at the end of that first half. If they continue to grind and make some stops, they'll have a chance to get back in it.
How about the Knicks with 14 missed shots in the second quarter, but 8 offensive rebounds on those 14. To outscore the Bulls by 14 points, 36-22 in the second. Off the steal, here comes Noah. Noah all the way.
That's one of the most underrated aspects of his game, the ability to lead the fast break. So rare for a guy his size, but he can do it.
Another Knick turnover. Rose unable to use that screen attempted by Gibson. They double up on Rose. They get the ball out of his hands. Gallinari now defending on Rose. Finds the open man. It is Dang for 3. And the Bulls showing some signs.
That was the pass that Keith Bogans should have made to Deng in the first place. Bogans telling Deng on the way back, my fault, I should have had you. So Deng was open for about 10 seconds there. Finally, the Bulls found him.
The 21-point lead is down to 14. Shot clock to 5. Stoudemire forced left. Another Knick turnover. Rose from downtown.
I don't like it. You know, they've got all the momentum. They've got the aggression. They're playing with a purpose. That's not his shot. He's not a three-point shooter. They lose momentum now.
A steal by Dang. Took it away from Gallinari. And score. Mike D'Antoni wants to talk it over. Timeout, New York. 4 consecutive turnovers by the Knicks, leading to a 7-0 run for Chicago.
Noah in transition, so adept at handling the ball, and the Bulls, you see the aggressiveness defensively. Dang gets it easy too. The Bulls are back in it.
Back in Chicago, time for the Autotrader.com player comparison.
Well, there are many similarities between former Bull Dennis Rodman and current Bull Joakim Noah. Both players superb rebounders. They're both very unselfish players. They like to agitate the opposition with their physical play. And they show as much emotion as anybody on the court. Rodman, such an eccentric, much like Noah. They both had the wild hair, fan favorites. Very different physically. So Rodman's 6'7", maybe 6'8", but one of the great rebounders of all time. And Noah blossoming as possibly the best rebounder in the league in the coming years.
Currently leads the NBA at 15 rebounds per game. Here's Stoudemire rejected. Bogans on the block. Turnovers hurting the Knicks here in the third quarter. The Bulls turning it, coming back to a 21-point deficit. Shot clock to 5. Rose picked off by Tony Douglas, who just checked back in. Douglas met by Bogans. Stoudemire played by Gibson. Douglas for 3. Tony Douglas continues to play well.
Big shot from Douglas. All the momentum in the Bulls' favor. New York tries to go to Stoudemire twice in a row. He couldn't convert the first time, but the second time made a very unselfish pass to find the wide open Douglas.
Gibson, oh, what a second effort. He took a couple, and he was fouled twice.
It looked like Stoudemire might have gotten him in the first place. That would have been his 4th. Right here you see he gets a hand, no body, but good no call, I think. But here's Douglas there reaching in. Gibson with the finish, and he'll go to the line.
Douglas commits his second. Tajgibson has come up with a strong game, looking for a 17th point. Back tap by Noah. He does that so well. Here's Dang to the bucket. Felton comes away with it. Look out. Sandler, who just came back in, able to handle it.
Bulls are really getting after it defensively. They're flying to the ball right now.
This in contrast to what we saw in the first half when the Knicks were the aggressor. Chandler fires for three. Back tap this time by Stoudemire. Good job, and Felton can reset. Halfway through the third quarter, a catch and shoot for three again by Douglas.
Boy, Tony Douglas, he and Gallinari have saved the Knicks tonight. Several big shots from Douglas thwarting these Bulls rallies.
Knicks a 9 of 13 from downtown. Here's Rose. Oh, what a move by Derrick Rose.
He is a highlight, just ready to happen every single night.
14 points, 11 assists for Rose. The steal by Bogans, then recaptured by Felton. Douglas shoots for three, but a whistle blown.
What a tough break. I think they're going to talk to the shot clock operator. They reset the 24-second shot clock, which should not have happened, and that negates a wide open three from the hottest guy on the floor. That's a tough break for New York.
Violet Palmer walking over to the scorer's table to explain the call.
Well, near steal from Bogans. The shot clock operator thought that Bogans had possession. The referees disagreed, and they take that away.
And now 10 on the 24. Basket won't count. Felton on a double team, lost it. Intended for Dang. And here's Felton ahead of the field.
Seems like every time Chicago gets something going, they turn the ball over, or they take a bad shot. They're right there. They just can't get over the hump.
16 turnovers by the Bulls. Rose with the runner. Derrick Rose turning it on here in the third quarter. 83-69. The Knicks on top.
Well, New York with 8 turnovers here in this quarter. Indicative of the type of defense Chicago has played, but also the fact that New York not really able to go and get a bucket easily.
Nice step back by Chandler. 8 points for Wilson Chandler. Rose one-on-one, rejected by Chandler, kept alive by Dang. As Gibson makes his move, draws the foul. Tajgibson on the spin. Gallinari called for the foul. That is his first. The Knicks 13 foul. Bulls have just one. Tom Thibodeau staying with his starting lineup throughout this third quarter. Rose and Bogans in the backcourt. Gibson, Dang, and Noah up front. Here's Rose again, using his speed.
Well, he's going to try to take over. I mean, the Bulls now are bringing it defensively. This is their best lineup at the defensive end, and they're forcing turnovers. Now it's up to Rose to get out in transition and make plays like that one in the half court.
Felton using the pick. Gets it to Stoudemire, and it's slapped out of bounds.
You know, Stoudemire's been very turnover prone here in the early going. 17 turnovers in the first 3 games. And you can see he's not a guy who's going to be a great decision maker. He's a finisher, which is why he was so good with Steve Nash, because Nash always set him up perfectly. But when you try to go to him on the block, not quite as effective.
Raymond Felton from downtown. The Knicks continue to hit threes. They're 10 of 14 from beyond the arc. And for Felton, his third three-pointer. Hang around Gallinari, but he lost it. Rose steps back to shoot. Yes! Just did beat the 24-second buzzer. A three-pointer for Rose. He scored the last 9 points for the Bulls.
Great recognition of the shot clock. As soon as he picked up the ball, he had already looked at the 24-second clock, so he knew exactly what he had to do.
Felton intended for Stoudemire. Douglas able to play the deflection and fires it home. Another three for Tony Douglas.
This is just a shooting exhibition here for New York. 4 for 5 from 3 for Douglas. 3 for 3 for Gallinari. 3 for 4 for Ray Felton.
Tony Douglas, originally a first-round pick of the Lakers, traded to the Knicks. Started 10 games last season. Bogans, nice pass from Noah.
Now you can see the aggressiveness. Bulls now looking to put the ball on the floor, get to the rim. They're really attacking, and they're finding a way to get the ball in the basket. But can they stop these three-point shooters on New York?
12 points, 10 rebounds for Noah. Chandler, a series of moves on Bogans, and fires a bad shot.
Trying to do too much on his own there.
Gibson facing up, trying to get it down low to Noah, and a foul.
Chicago.
Foul on Stoudemire, that's his 4th.
Well, New York holding off this furious Bulls rally. First you see Derrick Rose knock down the 3, but Tony Douglas comes right back from about 3 feet beyond the arc. Knicks kind of hanging on here, but they're up 15.
Third season out of Memphis, an All-Star last season for the first time. The first Bulls All-Star since Michael Jordan in 1998. Derrick making it back from an ankle injury suffered in preseason. And Steve, he's a player who can dominate without scoring. He did average 21 a game last season plus 6 assists. Comes into tonight just under 28 points per game.
Well, and he's adapted his game because of the absence of Boozer. And he's really taken over offensively for Chicago every time they've been in trouble this year. And you're seeing it again here tonight.
Ronny Turiaf, an important player for the Knicks in the first half, keeping that ball alive. A couple of blocked shots. He's checked back in. Kyle Korver getting set to come on. Bogans not able to hit, but a foul call. Bogans got the step.
Foul on Wilson Chandler is 4th.
Chandler on the foul. That's his 4th. So 4 apiece on Chandler. And Stoudemire. Here comes Korver for Gibson. We go to Craig Sager.
Well, Bob, earlier you talked about the auto trader comparison between Noah and Rodman. I talked to Joakim, and he said, yes, Rodman's my hero. I love to watch him play. I have tapes of all his games. I said, did you ever meet him? He goes, yeah, I met him one night at a club in Miami. It was the greatest night of my life. Let's leave the details to your imagination.
Steve, you spent much time with Dennis Rodman as a member of the Chicago Bulls. You think he's a Hall of Famer?
I do. It may take some time because I don't know, some of the voters may have to get over some of his eccentricities, shall we say, but one of the great rebounders and defenders of all time. And he won. I think he won 5 rings. So what more do you need?
Led the NBA in rebounding 7 times. Bulls go with a small lineup. Douglas played by Bogans, not allowing the shot. Shot clock at 1. Felton heaves for 3. Noah with the rebound. Here's the pitch out. 2-on-1. Bogans with the finish.
And this is how Chicago has played the first few games of the season. Force long shots, get rebounds, get blocked shots, and get out in transition. It's their best chance of scoring because Derrick Rose is so good.
And the outside official, Derek Collins, with the call.
Now here's the rebound from Noah, and then the terrific outlet. What a tough angle. And Bogans running the floor. Perfect fast break from Chicago.
Kyle Korver committed the foul. Here's Gallinari, changed his mind. Turiaf, good play by Turiaf. A lot of times guys take their eyes off the ball, not looking for the lead pass.
And I think if you're Deng, you got to foul him there. Take a hard foul, make Turiaf make a couple free throws.
Rose twisting his way inside. What a move by Derrick Rose. 23 points, 12 assists for Rose.
Just phenomenal body control. It's incredible when he leaps off 2 feet. He's able to spin and find different angles to get the ball in the hoop. It's amazing.
15 of his 23 here in the third quarter. Douglas kicks it out. Gallinari on a fade. Chased down by Noah, able to save it.
Good challenge from Korver, and that's what Kenny Smith talked about at halftime. The Bulls were not challenging any of those long-range shots in the first half.
Dang open for 3, yes. Made that play through the double, found the open man.
A la Steve Nash, working the baseline, kind of winding, weaving his way through the defense, and waiting for the open man to develop.
The Bulls within 10. They trailed by as many as 21. 4-second differential between the shot clock and the game clock. Chandler, way off. final seconds of the quarter. Here comes Rose, puts the speed on, and cannot convert. A 9-2 run to end the quarter for the Bulls, but they are back into it. The Knicks with a 21-point edge in the first half. It's now a 10-point lead. We'll be back to the United Center in a moment. Marine Corps just a moment ago. Craig Sager caught up with Chicago Bulls head coach Tom Thibodeau.
Well, Coach, that 21-point lead now down to 10. It was a terrific defense, but yet New York City in for the three-point line. What do you do now?
Well, you have to do both. It requires multiple effort. Right now, we're stopping the ball or trying to stop the ball, and then we're closing out short. We have to take care of the ball, the paint, react out, and still get up on their threes. And you got to finish your defense. If you don't finish your defense against them, they score the ball very easily.
Derrick Rose is dictating the pace of the game right now, but he can't do it alone. Who needs to help him out here in the end?
Well, everybody. You know, it's again, if our defense works and we can get some stops, we can get into the open floor, we can get some easy scores. But right now, we're making it hard on ourselves. We're holding on to the ball too long, dancing with the ball, and that's what's leading to the turnovers. But we got to stop turning the ball. If we move the ball freely, we can get a good shot.
All right, thanks a lot. Thank you, Marv.
I thought Tom sounded very well prior to the game. That's that coach's voice after screaming all game long.
Sounds like Stan Van Gundy and Doc Rivers. We need to get a new sponsor for these interviews. Get like a throat lozenges company or something for these coaches' interviews.
That was a clinic, though, by Tom.
Oh, he gave us the entire rundown. Terrific interview. This guy literally breathes and sleeps basketball. I mean, he's a single guy. He spends virtually his entire day at the Berto Center, the Bulls training facility. He's an absolute junkie, and all he does is watch basketball, break down tape, and prepare his team.
Basketball junkie.
That's what I mean. Yeah. Okay. Let's get that straight.
Tom spent the last 3 years as Doc Rivers' lead assistant, associate head coach of the Celtics. Did an outstanding job with defense, going back to his days as an assistant to a number of teams, including the Knicks and the Rockets under Jeff Van Gundy. Here is Douglas with a runner. Fourth quarter underway, and the Knicks now lead at 95-84. Amar'e from Turkey, the rookie, played briefly in the first half, is checked back in. That's a three-pointer. Kyle Korver with 8 points, and the lead is down to 8. Opening minute, fourth quarter, no hesitation there. And Douglas thought there should have been a foul. Another three. He is 5 of 6 from downtown. Tony Douglas with 26 points, and he is the high man.
Unbelievable display from Douglas, doing it all.
Johnson is rejected. And last touch by the Bulls.
Crowd doesn't like it, but I think it was a good call. Turiaf coming over for the blocked shot. I think it went off Johnson's shoulder. But meanwhile, can the Bulls stop Tony Douglas? We saw that little floater a minute ago, and all these threes. Knicks are going to run him off some screens and try to get him another look.
It's the rookie Landry Fields going to the reverse, draws the foul. Mike D'Antoni staying with Amar'e Stoudemire, despite the fact he has 4. Dang on that foul is third.
There's the block, and no, I take that back. I think that was off of Douglas. I think the call was off of a Sheik's shoulder. Tough angle for the official, but the crowd now seeing it on the screen, and they don't like it.
Landry Fields, a 68% free throw shooter in his college career at Stanford. A check of the upcoming national TV schedule. ESPN tomorrow will feature the Bulls at Boston, Clippers at Denver. NBA TV Sunday starting at 6:30 Eastern Time. Celtics and Thunder at Oklahoma City. Last night a rough one for Kevin Durant. And you can go to NBA.com/fan-night. Vote for the matchup that you want to watch Tuesday, November 9th. Voting ends at midnight Eastern Time. Rose changing direction and lost it. Stoudemire with the steal. Here's Douglas, pulls it back. Bill Walker on the court. Brody Turiaf is back. Fields and Douglas in the backcourt. Walker for three. They all fire threes. They're all hitting threes. The Knicks, who came in shooting just 29% from beyond that three-point line, are 13 of 18. That's 72% shooting for three. Here's Johnson. That's a three-point attempt.
And I love the decision from Tony Douglas in that last possession to pull it out. He had a chance to angle for the rim in transition, but he knew it wasn't a great shot. He pulls it out. They get it set up. They make the Bulls play D, knock down another three. Now they've got control of the game again.
Nice pass. Douglas setting it up for Turiaf, and a foul. James Johnson, not a good foul. Turiaf was right there. There's no question he was going to stuff it through, and here it is.
How about the pass from Douglas? It was Gallinari in the first half, and it's been Douglas here in the second, just taking over offensively. You know who he reminds me a little bit of is Leandro Barbosa in terms of the role that he's playing for Mike D'Antoni. Remember, Barbosa would play both point guard and two guard. Douglas, not really a pure point, but he can kind of handle both positions. You see what a good shooter he is. 5 for 6 from three tonight. 26 points, tying his career high. And he has really controlled this half.
So the Knicks able to settle down with a 9-0 run the last minute and a half. Bulls came with an 8. Still lots of time remaining. 9.5 to go in this fourth quarter, but the Knicks now lead at 105-87, led by as many as 21 in the first half. C.J. Watson is checked back in. Nice pass. Amar'e with the bucket.
And the problem for Chicago now, Marv, is Derrick Rose is tired. He's expended so much energy trying to get the Bulls back in it. So now he goes to the bench. Can Chicago score enough here, down 16?
Fields for three.
It's just their night. It's New York's night.
14 of 19 from beyond that three-point line. Douglas with the steal, and the foul is called on Watson. Timeout taken by Chicago.
New York just on fire all night long here. It's been Douglas, it's been Gallinari, even rookie Landry Fields getting into the act, and the Knicks have retaken control. Welcome back to Chicago, where the Knicks are putting on an absolute shooting clinic from downtown. Tony Douglas on fire tonight. You'll see a couple from him from deep range. And then Bill Walker gets into the act from the wing. Landry Fields decides he's going to join the crowd. 14 for 19 three-point shooting for New York. Just blistering. And if they shoot like this, I mean, they'll beat anybody.
This game here last season where the Knicks took 47 threes here against the Bulls in Chicago, which was a loss for the Knicks. They hit 16 of 47. Here's Korver. Yes. 8.5 left in the fourth, and the Knicks have a 108-91 lead.
Well, the Knicks didn't have the personnel last year to do what they're doing right now. D'Antoni was implementing the system, but he didn't have the shooters to actually do it. They got much better talent this year.
Well, last season, that was a Knicks team that won 29 and lost 53.
They only shot 34% from three last year, which was 20th in the NBA, and they came into tonight shooting 29% for the first three games, so that's obviously picked up big time.
There's Korver with a rainbow three-pointer. Mike D'Antoni able to get away with keeping Amar'e Stoudemire on the floor despite the 4 fouls. Stoudemire played by Gibson. Fires one up. Nowhere to go. He's double teamed. Watson guarded by Fields. Watson. The Knicks at 1-2. They won their opener in Toronto, lost in Boston, lost at home to Portland on Tuesday night. The scheduled game against Orlando at Madison Square Garden postponed because of debris that fell into the arena during the overnight maintenance work. They're scheduled to face the Wizards tomorrow night at the Garden, and it has been cleared that all is well in terms of the debris, and the game will take place at Madison Square Garden. And they have a Sunday afternoon game against the Sixers slated for the Garden, while tomorrow night the Bulls play in Boston. And then back home for Denver, Golden State, and Washington. Watson, that's a three-point attempt, rebounded by Fields.
And for Chicago, you know, the last thing you want to do going into Boston on a back-to-back is to lose a home game. As Charles Barkley said at halftime, you're supposed to win games like this at home. Of course, New York isn't supposed to shoot like this from three.
Here's Ronnie Brewer, who just checked back in. Ronnie Brewer was the projected starter at shooting guard as the 2, but he's been bothered by a hamstring pull. And Keith Bogans has been the starter, but the hamstring set him back during training camp.
And I think big picture for Chicago, that's the position that they're going to have to upgrade. You know, they need more shooting on this club. They added Korver. Remember, they signed J.J. Redick to an offer sheet from Orlando over the summer. They were really hoping that Orlando would not match. The Magic had a huge payroll, but to their credit, they matched. They took on Redick's salary, and the Bulls are still, I think, a great, or at least a very good shooting guard away from being elite in this league.
Foul on Korver. Shot clock run down to 3. Douglas did not realize it and pops one. You figure if that goes in.
Yeah, we could have just left. Let Sager handle the rest of it.
Blocking foul on the Knicks off that drive by Brewer. Timeout called with just under 6 left in the 4th. A dominating performance by the Knicks.
When I was younger, I was wearing pro wings. I wasn't able to afford anybody's signature shoe, so I had Payless shoes.
Well, hardworking, talented, and humble, that describes Derrick Rose, who maybe had Payless shoes growing up on the south side of Chicago, but today the official launch of his own signature shoe, they added Zero Rose. And everybody courtside got their own pair to wear here tonight to make them feel at home. It's the lightest shoe that Adidas ever made, and if you notice the signature stripes on the back of the shoe, because that's the way you see Derrick Rose flying down the court. Marv?
And Derrick with 14 assists, a new career high bucket by Brewer. Rose had 13 in the last game against Portland. 108-95. Knicks with the lead. Coming up on 5.5 to play here in the 4th. Marv Albert, Steve Kerr, Craig Sager. We're at the United Center in Chicago here on TNT. First of our doubleheader. Second game, it'll be Oklahoma City and Portland. Kevin Harlan, Reggie Miller, Cheryl Miller will have it for you. Watson with the pull-up. Yes.
Well, do the Bulls have one more run in them? You kind of sensed that it was over a couple minutes ago. They expended so much energy getting back into the game, but the Knicks kept hitting big shots. It's down to 11. You get the sense the crowd still doesn't quite buy it. You need another couple stops here to really think you have a chance.
8 straight points by the Bulls. Well, there's one stop as Stoudemire turned it over, leading to this. Korver for 3. Yes! Had a foot on the line. They say it's a 2. Remember, it was Korver with a 3 that brought the Bulls with an 8. It was 95-87. Now it's a 108-99 lead, a 9-point difference.
And Stoudemire having all kinds of problems with this Bulls defense. Turns it over, leads to this, the wide open, well, long 2 or 3 in transition for Kyle Korver. Welcome back to Chicago, where the Bulls trying to make one final push here to get back in the game. The officials during the timeout looking at the replay of Kyle Korver's long 2, and they were unable to gather indisputable evidence. Marv,
I see.
They're going to keep that as a 2. I couldn't tell, and I think that's the right call. If you can't really tell, you got to keep what you called in the first place. Really, really close. But meanwhile, Bulls have cut it to 9. Plenty of time. Can they sustain the effort? They've expended so much energy here. 2 separate runs here in the second half. You got to hand it to them. They're not quitting.
And another Knick turnover led to that bucket as Stoudemire has now turned it over 8 times.
Well, we talked about it earlier. 17 turnovers coming into tonight for Stoudemire. That's 25 in 4 games. The Bulls' game plan has been brilliant. They're sending him left, and when he does go left, they're not drawing the bait when he tries to get called for the foul. They're standing tall, and they're letting him force the action.
Tom Thibodeau staying with this lineup does not bring Derrick Rose back. It's a 10-0 run by the Bulls. The Knicks with 5 straight misses and a couple of turnovers. Shot clock to 6. Turiaf with an air ball. The Bulls are on it. It's Watson, and he is fouled. It's a non-shooting foul.
Foul called on Tony Douglas.
Douglas picks up his 3rd. Plenty of time remaining. 4 minutes, 26 seconds. Knicks have led by as many as 21. Bulls made that earlier run. Knicks were able to withstand it. Here's Watson. Watson. And Stoudemire able to grab hold of it.
We just showed Derrick Rose on the bench. How long will Tom Thibodeau leave him there? I love the fact that he's left Watson in here. Reward these guys.
Gallinari from downtown. Gallinari had the terrific first half. He now has 24 for the night. And that is his first points of the second half. Foul is called. It is on Douglas. So that's number 4 on Douglas, and team foul number 4 committed by the Knicks. The Bulls also have 4, so next foul for each club puts them over. Wilson Chandler will come on. Replaces Ronny Turiaf, who has been a very important man for the Knicks.
Every single time the Knicks have needed a big shot, they've gotten it tonight. It's been Gallinari and Douglas, but also some of the other guys coming in. Korver for 3.
Kyle Korver with 15 points. Three and a half remaining here on the 4th. The Knicks lead is down to 9. But Korver, his 3rd 3-pointer. Chandler on the drive, able to beat Gibson.
This is not the Bulls' best defensive lineup on the floor. It's a lineup that has scored and gotten them back into the game, but New York able to get some open looks against these guys.
Pass recovered by Gibson. No basket. Basket won't count. Foul before the shot attempt, but that'll put the Knicks over the limit. Gallinari called on the foul.
Gibson, 2 shots.
So 2 shots for Gibson, who's 4 of 6 at the line. We want Rose is the chant from this crowd. Stay tuned to watch EJ's neatest stat of the night. Presented by HP during Inside the NBA following the Thunder Blazers game.
Well, Tom Thibodeau in a really difficult situation now, because once the crowd starts chanting for him, you know, it's almost like you don't want to say, okay, crowd, this is what I'll do whatever you want. You want to be in charge. This Bulls team has made a great run and gotten to this point with this club, with this lineup, and he's staying with them. But Rose probably gives you the best chance.
Oh, Stoudemire blew the stuff. Watson for Korver. Gallinari did not allow the 3. Nice pass. Gibson thought he was fouled. Felton for 3. Raymond Felton with another Knick 3. That's his 4th of the night. The Knicks 16 of 23 from downtown, just under 70%. Felton not allowing Korver to fire a 3. Felton is on it. Here's the lead for Chandler, and it misfired.
Yeah, Felton now waving over to Mike D'Antoni saying, my fault. Probably should have pulled that back out. Watch the block at one end. Gibson going up. Stoudemire getting a piece of it. And then the 3 at the other end from Felton that was really the dagger. And at this point, if you're Thibodeau, I think you just stick with this lineup. let it go.
Well, coming up on 2 minutes to play in the fourth quarter, they're not allowing Korver to find any room. Now he does, and hits. Kyle Korver with another three. That's his fourth, 4 of 6 from beyond that three-point line. 116-107. It's been a wild one here at the United Center.
Fun situation, too, for Korver. He knows his team needs these shots. He has to fire away. He's got no choice. You see a foul there by Ashik. But if you're Kyle Korver, you have the green light. You're feeling it. You let it fly every time.
So the Bulls are over the foul limit. Knicks to the line. We'll check in with Ernie back in our studio.
Game break, and I appreciated Marv. There is Kevin Durant, the Oklahoma City Thunder, taking on the Portland Trail Blazers in Game 2 of our doubleheader. Thunder 2-2, and he was saying, Durant was, that I didn't show up in the last game, which the Thunder lost to the Clippers last night, 107-92. Guaranteed he'll show up tonight. Back to you.
All right, Ernie, Tony Douglas hitting on both. And that is a career-high 28 points for Douglas. Timeout with 1:46 left in the fourth. Minute 46 remaining here in Chicago. As you see, the Knicks have that 118-107 lead. It was 108-89 when Derrick Rose was taken out of the game. And C.J. Watson came on, and Joakim Noah also sat out, and the Bulls reeled off 10 straight points. But Tom Thibodeau kept Rose and Noah on the bench, which he may hear about.
I think he will. The fans obviously wanted Rose. I didn't mind the decision because you want to reward your young guys and your bench crew for getting you back into the game. There was a critical juncture there with about 3 minutes left when the crowd started chanting where maybe you could have brought him back, but all of a sudden New York hit a three. Now I think you ride it out. You leave those guys on the bench. You let your reserves finish it out. And remember, they play in Boston tomorrow night, and it is a long season. You want to build that bench confidence, and as I said, reward them when they do play well.
Here's Watson. Whoa, submarine. But Watson's all right. Stoudemire called for number 5, and Watson will head to the line.
Looked like Stoudemire got there, but his foot was on the restricted circle. And just a little bit late in that rotation, and that's a scary play for both guys, especially Watson. That's how you break a wrist or a finger.
Watson just 1 of 7 from the field. 4-year man out of Tennessee. Acquired from Golden State for a second-round draft pick. He's played in Italy, Greece, the D-League with the Warriors last season. In that high-octane offense, averaged 10 points.
Yeah, he had his best year of his career. I think Chicago wanted his aggressiveness off the bench behind Derrick Rose. He's a scorer. He's a guy with an aggressive nature.
Minute and a half remaining. Gallinari called for the travel. But you look back at this game, and it was Danilo Gallinari setting the tone in the first half. He has 24 points in all. Amar'e Stoudemire just 5 for 21, 14 points. The two guards played very well. Raymond Felton and Tony Douglas, career high 28 for Douglas. And here's Douglas adding to that.
Well, the shooting was incredible. And you see, this is what the Knicks want to do eventually as a team. They want to spread the floor. They now have Stoudemire rolling to the rim on that pick and roll, which in theory should bring the defense in and allow those shooters more room.
Timeouts remaining. The Knicks in excellent shape. The Bulls have the full timeout left. Knicks have a foul to give. Bulls are over the limit.
What a performance tonight by this Knicks team. They really have played hard early in the season. A couple tough losses to good teams. Boston and Portland. They blew that 9-point lead against Portland the other night with about 5 minutes to go. But we talked about this. You know, it's important for them to get off to an early quick start this season with these fans, somewhat energized and somewhat excited about this team. I think this is a big win for them.
Coming up on a minute to play, Amar'e with the bucket, 7-foot rookie by way of Turkey. Some pressure being shown here by the Bulls. But from a defensive point of view, a disappointing performance, obviously, for Chicago. And as you mentioned, not aggressive in that first half. The Knicks posting 70 points at halftime.
By the time Chicago started playing, it was too late, as you see Asik get fouled in transition. But New York really took the fight to the Bulls right from the get-go here tonight, and it carried over into the second half.
All right, as Asik goes to the line, we will send it back to Ernie Johnson in our Atlanta studio.
Yeah, Marv, less than 5 minutes to go until Brandon Roy and the Portland Trail Blazers host the Oklahoma City Thunder. Roy averaging 22 points a night here in the early going. The Blazers are 4-1, 3-1 on the road. They're back home tonight where they have won their only game. Back to you.
All right, Ernie, it was Stoudemire who was called on that Nick foul, putting Asik at the line, and Stoudemire has fouled out. So the Knicks will even up their record at 2-2 as they look to the Wizards tomorrow night, and the Bulls also 2 up and 2 down. And as we have been discussing, they are headed to Boston to face the Celtics tomorrow night. Felton playing the clock, which is something we have rarely seen here tonight. 3-point shooting by the Knicks, 16 of 23, just under 70%. Shot clock down to 3. And Douglas fires one from center court. We are final seconds. Brewers pass picked off. And that will do it, and the Bulls are hearing it from this crowd, hearing the boos, as they did from time to time during the first half. The Knicks defeat the Bulls here in Chicago, 120 to 112. A 3-point show put on by the Knicks. Thanks to our producer, Scott Cockerell, director, Renato Lowe, statistician, Brian Taylor, Marv Albert, Steve Kerr, Craig Sager saying so long from the United Center. Coming up, it's the Thunder and the Blazers. After a quick break, we'll take you to Kevin Harlan and Reggie Miller in Portland.